5 years ago, tragedy struck the Esko community when one of their own went down on the football field. Well, during the second half of high school football game, backup quarterback Jackson Pfister went into the game and collapsed on the field. He was rushed to the hospital where he eventually died. The medical examiner's office in Ramsey County stated Pfister's death was due to congenital heart disease. The condition is an abnormality that forms in the heart before birth. Well, cases like his and others like DeMar Hamlin, an NFL player who collapsed on the field, have brought conversations about the importance of cardiac health to the forefront, especially in athletics. Continuing her two-part series on heart health tonight, Northern News Now's Natalie Hepner spoke to athletic officials at Esko High School to see how they're turning tragedy into teaching. Natalie?
The Esko School District is making sure everyone is prepared in case of a cardiac emergency, from trainers and coaches to the athletes themselves. I visited Esko Schools to learn about their emergency response plan and how they're ensuring people are always prepared in case of emergency.
It's not generational concern, it's not a race concern, it's not a gender concern. Cardiac events can happen to any one of us at any time.
Cardiac events can happen in a heartbeat.
There's a statistic out there that states for every minute that goes by after a cardiac arrest, without CPR being performed, you lose 10% chance of survival. So if CPR is not performed for 5 minutes, you have already lost a 50% chance.
Tom Nguyen is an athletic trainer with Essentia and has been responding to medical emergencies in schools for 26 years. Nguyen is also a trained EMT and works in Esko.
And I think once you're affected by a cardiac incident, your passion to help others becomes greater. And we have all been touched.
Touched by tragedies, the Esko School District is making sure everyone is prepared in case of a cardiac emergency.
Well, I think it's obvious that at some point tragedy happens, or an occurrence will take place. It's not a matter if, it's just a matter of when.
Chad Stoskoff has worked in the Esko School District alongside Nguyen for 26 years, mostly as the activities director. Stoskoff ensures the school's emergency action plan is always in place in grades 7 through 12 in all of high school programming.
So you have different kids assigned to retrieving the AED. You have a different group of kids assigned to starting CPR. You have a group of kids that are responsible for calling 911, another group of kids that meet EMS and escort them to the site of the incident.
Stoskoff also works with the Minnesota State High School League as a secretary for Region 7A, which includes Esko. The MSHSL requires teams to have emergency action plans, which includes AED and CPR training, something that Esko Schools take seriously.
And it's just a matter of us making sure that it happens. So our practice is for our coaches at every level on the first day of practice to discuss and assign roles. And then sometime during the course of that first week, they have to practice it or put it into play.
Although the league requires the emergency action plan, along with coaches to be trained in CPR and AED use, the league doesn't require a school or a facility to have an AED itself.
I've heard make sure, but is that going to preclude that they can't have it? Is it always there? I would hope it is, but I would be pretty sure that it probably isn't in 100% of cases.
Our trainer carries an AED with him, and most places we go, I notice where it is right away.
Sue Northey is the girls' varsity basketball coach at Esko High School. She also is an educator who teaches students CPR.
And we average about 100 students per grade, so we feel pretty confident that we probably have trained over 2,000 students in our community.
Per Minnesota statute, school districts must provide one-time CPR and AED instruction as part of their grades 7 through 12 curriculum. Now, the law has been in effect since 2014, but Northeast says they've been teaching students for 20 years in their 5-day program.
Whether it's out running with their cross-country team, somebody goes down in their church, whatever it might be, I feel like our kids are super confident after those 5 days to know what to do.
Athletic officials with Esko says the school district has 3 AEDs in their buildings available for anybody to use, including the trained students.
The kids know it's foolproof. You can't accidentally charge somebody's heart when it's not required. So the kids learn all of that, and that just really makes them feel confident in going and grabbing that AED.
Confidence that Nguyen said is priceless while waiting for EMS to arrive.
Okay, what was your address?
In Esko, when a 911 call comes through, the Cloquet Emergency Services also respond, but in the event Cloquet is first to respond, there's a slight delay.
If we're able to institute life-saving measures before they get there, the chance of survival increases. And if somebody's able to do it before we get there, the chance is even greater.
Turning tragedy into successes with adequate training.
I can probably think of 4 or 5 instances over the last 25 years that, you know, a young person or somebody in the stands has needed CPR and AED use, and you know, that's a lot. And if people are there to help, and if people are able to help, that's called success.
Although the Minnesota State High School League doesn't require an AED, the league does offer funding for them. AEDs can cost anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000. The MSHSL Foundation allows member schools to annually apply for grants each year, including money for AEDs. This school year alone, the foundation gave out funding worth 100 AEDs.
All right, Natalie, thank you. Now, if you're ever at a sporting event or just out in public and want to know where the nearest AED is, there is an app called Pulse Point AED. It is a free app that instantly shows you via GPS where the nearest AED is. It can see your location, point you to the nearest life-saving device, and instruct you via GPS on where it is. Another tool, it will show you a picture of where that AED is located on the wall. By the way, if you want to catch part 1 of Natalie's special report on heart health, you can find it right now on our website at northernnewsnow.com.